PFT Media.
What's up, my dudes? It's Billy D, and welcome to episode 5 of the Postmortem.
Shut up and sit down.
Alright, welcome to episode 5. Can't believe we're here already. This is pretty wild. Where are we gonna start? I don't know. Let's start at number 80. Number 80 is one of the most influential movies of all time. It is the 1988 anime classic, Akira. Akira is basically the 2001 Blade Runner Clockwork Orange anime. The director, Katsuhiro Otomo, was working from a script that he adapted from his own manga. So one person had complete creative control over this. It was hand-drawn animation. That fact alone should blow your mind. Akira uses light better than most live-action films. It is brilliant. The spotlights, inky darkness, the shadows. Akira takes place in a post-World War III Tokyo called Neo-Tokyo in the year 2019. There are roaming gangs of bikers and cults, and it's just this sprawling metropolis. The film centers around a biker gang led by a teenager named Kaneda. Kaneda has a troublesome childhood friend named Tetsuo, and Tetsuo gains psychic abilities after a motorcycle accident in the beginning of the film, and he's being hunted by the government. It's not an easy film. Right now it sits at about 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's a landmark achievement in animation, to be sure, but it's also a landmark film. Number 79. The 1994 Luc Besson directed masterpiece of action storytelling. It's Leon the Professional. Stars Jean Reno, Natalie Portman, and Gary Oldman. This movie is badass. There's nothing about it I don't like. And initially, I only saw the American version, which is a much tamer experience. Besson's very French. So he had some very Frenchy European things in this story, like a weird kind of Lolita relationship between a hitman and a 12-year-old girl. Really, you gotta see it to believe it.
Leon's like this super quirky hitman character. He lives by himself in an apartment building in the city, he takes care of this plant, and one day his neighbor's family is gunned down by dirty DEA agents, and the 12-year-old girl goes to him seeking help, and against his better judgment, he takes her in.
He's got a rule: no women, no kids. He, takes this 12-year-old girl under his wing and starts to train her. And she kind of falls in love with him, and he kind of falls in love with her, and it's brilliant. Gary Oldman is unhinged in this movie. He's always cracking his neck, and listening to classical music, and popping pills, screaming, and he's awesome as this dirty cop. He's this great, sweaty mess. Like, you can smell him through the screen. And this actually jump-started Besson's career here in the United States. There are things about his other films that I dislike, but there's nothing about The Professional that I dislike. Go get Leon. Don't get The Professional, get Leon The Professional. That's the director's cut. That's the preferred version. It is outstanding. Number 78. Manhunter is a 1986 adaptation of the Thomas Harris novel Red Dragon. Now, you might remember Red Dragon as the Edward Norton movie directed by Brett Ratner from the 2000s that had Philip Seymour Hoffman and I think it was Ray Fiennes who was the bad guy in it. Can't forget Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. But in Manhunter, we do forget about Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter because he wasn't Hannibal Lecter yet. Silence of the Lambs was still 7 years away. So the Hannibal Lecter in Michael Mann's movie is played by Brian Cox. And the Ed Norton character, Will Graham, William Peterson from CSI. And you have the great Tom Noonan making his second appearance on the Postmortem as Francis Dollarhide. He's the Red Dragon character, the Tooth Fairy. You're familiar with the police procedural at this point. There's some murders, and then there's a guy who's got to stop the murders, and since this is based on a Thomas Harris novel, they need the help of an incarcerated serial killer in order to solve these murders. Blah, 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 blah. Justice is done, whatever. But Michael Mann actually elevates this material. He performs an early Fincher, where he takes pulp, crap, B-level material and brings it up. He does this in Manhunter with some really interesting choices. You know, it's very bright and clean. Everything about this movie is very sterile. The score is very like minimal, atmospheric, electronic score. It's one of my favorite scores of all time. And this isn't the best Michael Mann movie. It's not even the best movie based on a Thomas Harris novel. It has a very unique place in history of being a first attempt that was really good, but no one saw it. Check out Manhunter, number 77. Remember with number 78 when I said that Manhunter wasn't even the best Michael Mann movie? It's not, because this is the best Michael Mann movie, and that's Heat. Heat. What is there to say about Heat? Existential crime drama, character-driven action done in the slickest way possible. And you have one of the greatest casts ever assembled at their primes too. Let's talk about De Niro and Pacino. Heat was when they were at the peak of their powers. Pacino had just won an Oscar. De Niro had, who knows, maybe just won an Oscar, probably was just nominated for an Oscar. But I know Pacino had just won 1% of a Woman. These guys had just barely crossed paths in films before, but now they were gonna be in the same movie. And not only that, they were gonna have a number of scenes together. The diner scene is one of the best tense conversations I've ever heard. And this is gripping. Cop and a robber sitting across from each other. One's planning a heist, one's trying to stop him, and they just sit down and have a cup of coffee right before all the goes down. When I said in a previous episode that LA hasn't looked as cool since Michael Mann shot it, this is one of those examples. You want cool, awesome Los Angeles? Great aerial photography, daylight siege sequences. This is Heat. Number 76. This is the first musical on the list. Peter Jackson's film, Meet the Feebles. I hope I didn't lose you yet, because it's widely considered to be a terrible movie. And it is pretty terrible. There has not been a good transfer of it. It looks like it sounds like but it's a hard R-rated puppet musical. How could I not love that? Much like how Wet Hot American Summer is the last day of camp, Meet the Feebles is about one day of production on this show, The Feebles. And a new cast member comes in, and his name is Robert, and he's a wombat. And he is in love with Lucille, who's a polar bear. It gets real weird. And the songs are hilarious. They're poppy and catchy and bawdy as hell. Peter Jackson did Heavenly Creatures in the early 90s with Kate Winslet and Melanie Linsky, and that was his first real acclaimed picture. And then he did The Frighteners with Michael J. Fox, which is one of my favorite Michael J. Fox movies that isn't Back to the Future or Teen Wolf. The Frighteners is one of the most wildly inventive horror films of the 90s. But The Feebles, he's kind of disavowed Meet the Feebles, and that upsets me a little bit because I really like it. This is like a proto South Park musical. I don't know where you're gonna see this movie. Your best bet is to just check it out online somewhere. I don't want to endorse pirating it, but just get some friends, get some drinks, pop on Meet the Feebles, and just let this thing happen to you. And by the end, you'll be singing along, you'll be laughing, you'll be having a great time. And that's why I think Meet the Feebles is worth watching still, because it is a communal experience that you can have with other people. Holy we are done with episode 5. I can't believe it myself. Some people said it would never happen. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. There's no such thing as a bad comment. There's no such thing as a stupid comment. That's better. Stay cool. I'm Billy D. Nice coffee.
A PFT Media production.